Fight back. Fight back.
Stormtroopers all over. Welcome into the Storm Surge podcast. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, a student of the game, with my good friend BP, ready to break down and give you this live instant reaction to the Orlando Storm sneaking by the Houston Gamblers 24-23. I don't have any nails left from biting them, but BP, listen, I know I usually start the show off by getting you in there with the hot take and doing all the things, as you do a great job breaking down, if you will, and not just on BP's breakdown, but doing what you can to get us through and see what's going on. But the Admiral has the calm on this one, my friend. There's something I have to get off my chest. Now, frankly, I know the correct answer is don't leave it in the hands of the officials in the first place. And I know we'll talk plenty about the Orlando Storm offense not striking when the iron was hot, when the bolts were there, and all of that stuff. But Dean Blandino, what in the entire beep are we doing right now? This whole situation on that illegal contact on the kick return is absolutely unacceptable. If you want to talk about a matter of contact or where things were going right and wrong, that's fine. Oh, well, the player appeared, he was able to gather himself before making the contact. Last I saw, you're not supposed to block people in the back in the first place. But let me get this straight. A dude straight up, two hands, shoves a player into a returner, and because he, and I quote, had time to regather himself, you give a team another chance after they had straight up lost the game. Well, not really gave him a chance, just put him a little closer. Okay, fine. We'll let that one slide. The ball didn't lie in its own right there, too. Fourth down. The Gamblers fail again. Snake eyes, if you will. And then there's a false start called on Keyshawn Banks, who found his defined purpose and left just before the snap of the ball, but not in the eyes of the official. No, we're going to take the interception away. That would have otherwise lost the game. And the Gamblers have yet another chance. Now, credit to Coach Cam doing something right on the super challenge on the what was it? The illegal hands or the legal holding or whatever.
Holding. Yeah, defensive holding. Yeah.
I actually see the beef there. Not my favorite call, but at least there's some stuff there that's actually illegal that the Storm did. Not somebody getting blocked in the back, not somebody timing the ball correctly, an actual illegal play. But the reason why I don't even bring that up per se, BP, is because it should have never happened. Blandino, that was terrible, and you owe everybody an apology. And by the way, for all you whiny little punks out there who had a problem with the Storm winning the Louisville game because of something that was in the rule book, I want this same energy when somebody can push someone in the back and it's called back. Give me a lap, BP.
Woo!
Coming out hot this episode of the Storm Show.
Take him to church, Kyle. Take him to church, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
I don't know that much more to say than I did about that, but that had to be gotten out of the way. It's completely unacceptable.
Take it to church, boy. Oh, let me hear it, church. Oh, gotta get an amen from the back. Oh my goodness. What just happened?
When the Admiral has the calm, it's a big deal. By the way, I never really started using that phrase until I saw Down Periscope, which is a comment. But I digress.
As long as you don't have any unnecessary tattoos, I think we're fine.
Hey,
listen. What happened?
I don't know what's giving you more heart palpitations, watching that game or my spiel.
Oh my God. I need to take a pill. What happened? Like, I'm seriously, what happened? You know, go back to that Louisville game. You know, the explanation that we got, the long-winded, not a word. Just, yeah, I see the contact. And then, it looks like he gathered himself. And then next play.
Yeah.
Just move on. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. Orlando damn near beat themselves again for the third straight week. I don't know what Anthony Becht is going to do to get these guys asses in gear. This was not a bad Houston team. Let's give credit where credit's due.
Another team, by the way, that restructured, brought in another quarterback.
Yeah, another quarterback. Another quarterback. I mean, final stats. Let's look at it.
Well, before you jump to the stats, I'll give Big Bubby credit because I think and I don't know if you heard me open up my spiels as such, Bubby, but like I feel like getting the touchdown and then the pick six to start the game, Orlando should have ran away with it early and not let it get so close. 1,000% correct.
Oh God.
Okay. Clearly correct. I don't want this to just me chirping about Blandino, but it's pretty awful that the Storm held on despite two clear officiating mistakes, and I want to get that out there. But yeah, to your point, and I think this is what BP's alluding to, doesn't seem like the same team when they were 4-0. No, I don't think so. And none of this, in my opinion, has a lot to do. Well, I shouldn't say that. The one thing I can point to that I'm still trying to analyze how much it matters is the I shouldn't say lack of depth, but there's been a lot of defensive back injuries, and we'll talk about DJ James and his impact there too. But drop some stats on us, PP. Take us to church as far as what you thought happened here in the game.
Well, the numerology is not looking good, man. Houston, 317 yards passing.
That's insane.
When you give up 317 in the air, you're asking for trouble. Seriously. 317 in the air, 98 rushing yards. They were 4 for 13 on third down, 22 first downs, 22 drives extended, or maybe that's not an approximation here, but 22 first downs to 11. 70 total plays that Houston ran. They held the ball for 31 minutes, 54 seconds. They sacked Plummer 3 times, 4 TFLs.
Now, in fairness, there is a little bit of anomaly here because, of the aforementioned pick six that does tack on a few extra plays. But 70 in an XFL football game when the clock's accelerated is a metric butt ton. I don't think
that's like college level running tempo offense in a first half. That's ridiculous how many plays they ran. But I mean, the question of the night was, with all of that, they had 2 costly turnovers, the pick six that was the game winner when you really look at it, and they lost a fumble, in the red zone. So that was huge. Meanwhile, Orlando, 185 total yards, 152 in the air, 55 yards rushing, 7 penalties tonight. 7 penalties. Used to be one of the least penalized teams in the league. 7 penalties tonight.
And they
only
had
11
last week, by the way.
Yes, 13 penalties in 2 weeks, 11 first downs. And here's a huge stat: 2 of 10 on third down, 20% efficiency.
Not great, Bob.
No, crappy is what it is. 46 total plays. The time of possession, 28:06. Wow.
I'll say this much. For all my whining and complaining, and the Orlando Storm podcast jumps in the comments, what in the world was that last 2 minutes?
Oh, God, you tell us.
I have an answer for that question. And as somebody who was purveyed in the sport of football at a semi-pro level and played my share of pickup games and all this, I used to hate the phrase, the ball don't lie. But I feel like the last 2 minutes is, in fact, ball don't lie. That's the best answer I got for you. Okay. I appreciate you jumping in and fielding the question, but that's the best I can do to describe those last 2 minutes. Ball don't lie.
Well, on top of the ridiculous penalty on the punt, let me also jump on the soapbox here. Will a side judge get his eyes checked? I know Keyshawn Banks is a big mother, but he was not offsides.
No.
Go back to the film. Even where I know those lines on the field are approximations, but when your fat ass is a good 3 feet behind the blue line, which is an approximation, that's approximately incorrect that you threw a flag there.
Now,
So
in
I'm
fairness,
gonna need you to see an ophthalmologist at this point, not an optometrist. I'm talking a medical doctor.
full doctor. That's right.
You might want to get this checked again. Jameis Winston had better vision before LASIK than that. I mean, I cannot believe that was not offsides. Unbelievable.
I think we have consensus among the Storm here, Orlando Storm podcast who's on. I literally yelled, "Ball don't lie" after that stupid penalty on Keyshawn Banks.
And Decker sails the pass. Yes.
To which you can hear him audibly saying, "What was I doing?"
I mean, just for all of the nonsense, that last 2 minutes was, I mean, you want to talk about garbage time in a game? This was literal garbage on both sides. I mean, it's just Deckers was accurate as hell throughout the entire game. And then all of a sudden, it's like he just forgot where his receivers were and were just throwing just to the left or just to the right. He'd been active all game doing wonderful things. But you see, here's what well, say what you will about Kevin Sumlin, okay? I mean, there's a reason why he wasn't coaching at Texas A&M anymore. And if you're an Aggies fan, you probably agree with it. I think, in my honest opinion, I think if John Rice Plumlee stays in the game, Houston wins this game by 14.
I wondered your thoughts on that. I was going to ask you.
Listen, that was two flavors of quarterback. To Decker's credit, he really started carving up the Storm defense after a while, but then he started sputtering. They started playing. They were getting closer. You could see jaws in the water, and the Sharks were coming. And it was just one more play, one more pressure in the backfield before they were going to sack him. So it was coming. Orlando was all over it. You stick with Plumlee. Plumlee was like it was like Wile E. Coyote trying to catch the Roadrunner. It ain't happening. I mean, look at this guy. Holy crap. In the grasp, out of the grasp, Konami code, up, down, left, right, left, touchdown.
It's almost as if somebody had scouted and let everybody know that JRP was,
Well, now, maybe if folks had watched the Storm Surge podcast, they might have picked up on that, Kyle.
No, but absolutely. Well,
as we are prone to say on this podcast with my favorite picture, shut up.
I will give credit and shouts to the support from Orlando Storm podcast. They had seen my breakdown, my scouting report there on the Storm Surge podcast with the short we dropped today about my scouting report there, such that is, and they agreed with it. So I can't front on that. But yeah, that element was there too. Frankly, it reminded me a lot of ways of the opening play that DTR had last week, where he inside, outside, back outside. We got that side's got to get contained with gap integrity with a dude like that. I have to ask, Bubby's in here with a pretty tight question, and I'm going to pass this one to the Spring Sicko because I really do want your opinion on this part, buddy.
Okay, fire away.
Halfway through Orlando Storm season, who would you say is the team you have the most beef with, or is a rival? Any bad blood? I don't know how the answer isn't. Yeah, exactly.
Birmingham.
I don't know at this point how it's not the Stallions, but I just wanted to. I couldn't even do the spiel, but it's a good question by you.
It ain't anybody but Birmingham, brother. Yeah. Let me tell you something. Now, DC, well, we haven't played DC yet, so
Louisville would have to be a second. I would imagine they're still being swept on the strength of the technical.
Yeah. Well, sure. Louis. Okay, so if you want to rank them, head-to-head match. Okay, let's be real here. Let's get the sass out the way. Now we'll actually do some analysis. Head-to-head. Honestly, I think the biggest team that we have beef with going forward is St. Louis. That was a tale of two halves, but it was a tale of two teams, honestly.
There's no bad blood storylines behind that. Like,
no,
there's and all that. That's what makes Birmingham real, to your point.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if you're putting it on paper and you're talking just straight gridiron, I think the team that we'd have the most beef with would be St. Louis. And Louisville a distant second. And Louisville has gotten better as the season goes on. Do not let those records fool you, y'all. I watched that Louisville DC game, and Louisville is a much improved team as opposed to when we face them. So look out. They're probably
thank you at the same point, Louisville, for giving Orlando the opportunity to creep a game up there closer to DC, by the way, after they went, 5 straight there, BP? Gracious.
Yeah.
I got to give your Battlehawks take credit. I don't want to cheapen Coach's former stop and that storyline there in there too. That's a thing. I get it. I get it.
Well, and then on top of that, though, I mean, Ricky Prohl has done a fantastic job in St. Louis, creating his own legacy in
100%.
Missouri. I mean, I think there's even some sort of Senate Senate resolution in the state of Missouri to make the Battlehawks the official professional football team of the state of Missouri. Like, these guys are so starved for pro football since the Rams left that the Battlehawks nation has just absorbed this culture, and they're really making something out of it. So, I think, St. Louis is probably going to be the, on paper, gridiron, line them up, let's butt heads. That's that game. So if I'm making equations in terms of rivalry, this is probably more of your Florida State Miami style rivalry, which you hate each other, but there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of, tight play going on. It's a contest. It's a clash of titans. Birmingham, Orlando, that's your Florida State. That's your Clemson, South Carolina, your Georgia Tech, clean old fashioned hate. This
Your
is the
war
team
on
that
I-4, if you will.
war on I-4, UCF Bulls, that type of stuff.
Orlando, see how they're mixed together for us old heads, right?
For us old arena football heads, why the Orlando Storm still it's a little different, but I mean, that the team that you absolutely love to hate for whatever reason, I should have been your quarterback. That's a great bulletin board. Put it on the rivalry board material. So that's the way I see it at this point. I know, and with such a small
your attention, go check out the BP's breakdown.
Yeah, listen to my 15-minute conversation on that. So Bubby, great question. All about that stuff. But anyway, going back to the game itself here. I mean, there were some bright spots. I mean, we did score some touchdowns today, 3 of them to be exact. One of them on defense, but this pass right here, drop the dime in the parking meter there. So, Plummer dropping back, another pump fake, great pump fake, Badger with the separation, nice catch, dumb move here, handing the receiver the ball. That was an unsportsmanlike penalty, but don't worry about it. Lance has got you back on the extra point. But I mean, how much space are you going to give Elijah Badger on a play like that and expect to do something about it? I mean, the pump fake was fantastic. And the other thing too, and I know that we don't have the best angles on it, but the pump fake froze the cornerback's eyes, and he was looking straight into the gullet of Jack Plummer. Did it again, damn it. But that turnaround, that was actually Jack the Snake Plummer, because that was a serpentine move to freeze the secondary and looking straight at him at that point. And anybody with football know-how will tell you that as soon as you're looking square in a quarterback's eyes, he's already scored the touchdown. Great touch pass by Plummer to, just get that nice and high right into Badger's breadbasket, and then he just dances into the end zone. Another great touchdown. The 2 touchdown passes on the day for Badger. His total stats on the night: 4 catches, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very important. This first one in the first quarter. I mean, look at him just dragging guys into the end zone with him. Come on, man! Hop on the Badger Express, because we don't give a what.
I was wondering when you're going to drop that in there. And by the way, if I could defend for just a moment, going back to the second touchdown, if I could defend the handing of the ball to the DB, sure, he got the yardage for it, and I get it. Lance drilled the extra point right down the middle. But I got to tell you, BP, I feel like that was something to just try and get the team hyped up.
Yeah.
They needed some kind of a spark. I'll give up. Listen, if you give Mike a chance to take a stab at it, I know he's going to get it more often than he don't. This team needs to get hyped. I actually defend the move. Did it work? Probably not. But
well, I'm not.
The numbers would bear out.
I'm only calling it out because it was a foul. I didn't say it was bad form. Because I mean, on on the screen it looks kind of like a dick move, but it was meant to jack the team up, and that's exactly what it did. Gave him some juice. Once again, all of these things considered. You got to credit the Orlando defense for making the plays when they had to. I wish they'd made a few more, right. But they stuck in, they grinded out a gritty win. You know, we have something to take from this. It's a dub in the win column. You know, we don't get style points in the UFL. There is no committee that's going to vote anybody into a 14 playoff here, which is the magic of this football league. We don't have that nonsense. So
you mentioned the playoffs and the magic of this league, BP. You know what the magic is of these playoffs? I can't say Orlando and Magic with playoffs anymore. That's depressing. But you know what the magic of the UFL playoffs is, BP? I'm going to need to learn these tiebreaker procedures real close, dude, because of what happens here. What's going on with DC alone is crazy, which, taking nothing from Bubby, Orlando's going to face his Renegades next Friday on a short week, by the way, which will be in effect for halftime and post game for those two. Make sure you follow that. But all of the above to say, BP, we're going to need to know these tiebreaker procedures, and we're going to need to know them real close. I'm going to say that.
Let me pull up the standings here. I know we don't have a graphic to show you right now, but I'll run through it now that we've completed week 7. So St. Louis at the moment sits in the top spot at 5-2. Orlando, with their win, technically moves up to second place. They're 5-2.
And the head-to-head is the tiebreak, obviously.
Yeah, head-to-head and then tiebreak. So, St. Louis obviously takes that, and this is for seeding purposes. Right. DC drops down to 5-2. They have yet to face Orlando, so that's important. Right. And then after that, it's the Birmingham Stallions sitting at 3-4. Now they have a 3-way race for the 4th position between Birmingham, Louisville, and Dallas. Dallas matching up with Orlando this week. I mean, you cannot say any more about the critical nature of this Dallas-Orlando game, because a Dallas win helps them in their race and sort of damages Orlando going into the DC race. They'll drop to a 3rd slot, and then they have to face DC. Then they have to face DC, and then back to back sandwiched. So that's not good. You need a win against Dallas to hold the 2nd position, and then you could split with DC and still make the playoffs. It would just affirm you'd be in the 2nd or 3rd seed at this point. So as it stands right now, if the season ended today, the 14 playoffs, St. Louis would host Birmingham and Orlando would host DC. So, we'd end up getting a 3rd crack at the Defenders at this rate. So, yeah, just kind of how the cookie crumbles. But, again, super that they got the win for the wins and losses. But at the same time, the wagons are being circled. People are picking up on things. And like Bubby said earlier, this is not the same team that has gone 4-0 in the season. Down the stretch, they're 2-1. So some things have got to be fixed. The defensive coverage has got to be tightened up a lot more. They're too soft on the zones, playing too far back. The receivers are getting better. The Dallas and DC are going to present a different challenge. You can't back off on them.
Houston, and I forget who the guy was that got acquired. That's my bad for not looking it up before the show. But they got a new receiver over. I know for all the attention that was paid to John Rice Plumlee, and rightly so. He scored a touchdown in the game, right? I even wrote an article about him in the UCF Night Zone. Shouts to that. Although I said he was starting, apparently that didn't happen. But whatever, It's cool. The punchline's this though, BP. I think my fragile little brain. And I alluded to it in halftime, and it's starting to lock in more and more, especially after I saw Sebastian head to the sideline with, after getting banged up in his own right. They're getting really thin at defensive back. Granted, hey, listen, as much as I can play about them getting thin, shouts to DG James for his contribution, over and above the pick 6 here, where he just snacks Decker's pass. I said snacks, whatever. I'll just say snacks because he ate it alive. I'll work with that. But with all the above to say, the fact that you have for 2 weeks, is it 2 weeks in a row? Yeah, no. I forget if it's 2 weeks in a row or 2 and 3 weeks, whatever. You've twice had it occur, BP, where a new arrival is getting an interception in their first game.
Well, Amani Bledsoe coming over from the Stallions. That happened in his first week.
But
yeah, Amani Bledsoe, right? So he comes in first game, gets an interception. DJ James has been with the team that many days.
3 days, folks.
3 days. And he gets his first game and he gets a pick 6. So immediate impact. Just holy crap, dude. That was something to see. I mean, he jumped that route like I don't even know. I probably can't even say it on this broadcast at this point. There's no way to edit it because it's live. I mean,
white on rice, folks. That's what we're saying. Well, but here's the thing.
Zatarans. I mean,
that's quite a bit of gas you threw there.
It got some spicy jambalaya when he ran off with that. I mean, holy crap, dude.
And if that's what keeps up, maybe the UFL will move to New Orleans eventually here. But the punchline's this there, BP. The defensive backs, the reason why I feel like the defense is so loose, I don't want to say they're bad. It's another bend, don't break, as you called out, going all the way back to week 1 against the Aviators, right? I think there's an element because they're so injured, they're not playing guys that they're confident in with some of these speedsters that you see on the outside. Now, it is leading to there to be open gaps in the middle and stuff like that we've seen. I do see a lot of things where it just looks like the guys aren't in the right place. I'm probably going to ask Tuesday, Coach Becht, about how much that's impacted the team. I would expect him to say something along the lines of, "Oh, it's huge." And, and I'll work on my Becht impersonation, but the punchline's this, man. I think that rotation, the constant replacement of DBs, has led to perhaps some issues with getting established defensively. So they sit back. What do you do with a team that sits back? You come out with quick passes. Say what you will about Decker being off cue. Part of that may have been because they were demanding the ball to come out quick, but 9 times out of 10, that was the issue, right? Now, granted, when you recognize that somebody's throwing the ball out quick, when you're wanting to cushion the defense as they're sitting back, BP, you do things like have Isaiah Bugs pop back into coverage. But that the fact that they're doing that is another bit of evidence that I have in my head that they are just feeling incredibly thin at defensive back. And I think these two things are related.
Let me not so much a counterpoint, but something, a point of information to the chair. Aaron Cruikshank, inactive. Bryce Benhart, inactive. Chris Collins, inactive. Josh Minkins, inactive. Nate Maters, inactive. Mose Vavau, inactive. I believe, if I'm remembering the roster correctly, most of those guys are defenders, and a good portion of them are secondary.
Moreover, Josh Minkins was a central point of the secondary.
Yeah, so that one was kind of a surprise to see, but we've seen Cruikshank, on this list several weeks in a row. Actually, I'd have to really dig into it now. Yeah, well, Cruikshank has been on this list for a while. Chris Collins, I think, has been on and off of it. Yep. So they still have some guys that they've just not dressed. That for whatever reason they're sitting. That they're probably going to have to get some playing time now because the injury bug is starting to hit. Right. I want a follow up. And maybe this will be in post-game press today. If somebody from the press asks, I know we forego this to do our live stream.
Because we've got to talk to you guys out there.
Exactly. You guys are more important than the post-game press conference. Trust us. Yeah. But we'll get that information from the team. And, we're just a phone call or a text away from that info. But, we'll have to find out about Isaiah Bugs' status. He did walk off on his own power and didn't seem to be too damaged. But, that's a big point because you don't want to lose him up front. Especially for any stretch.
Week 2, it just got a whole lot bigger, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll check on him. Who else did I see get taken off?
Sebastian?
Sebastian got off. I would be concerned about him potentially in concussion protocol. I did not like the way he looked walking off the field. Right. But, again, that's another injury to watch because Sebastian's been doing a really good job in coverage downfield, a couple of great plays all season long. So he'd be a key loss if he were injured at all. Yeah. So, something to look out for as we get into the week. And you got to remember, guys, the next game's on Friday night. It's a short week for Orlando, so they have no time to get back to base camp here and recover. They literally have, if they take an off day, which is very typical for the Storm, they usually take the day off Monday to rest bodies and recover. But after that, you've only really got 2 solid days of practice, maybe a third one, because, now they got to go to Fort Hood. So they're not, traveling to a completely different location that the UFL don't think they planned for at the beginning of the season. So now they have to go to a completely different site in a place that's not necessarily made for football, that hopefully has been adapted. And I imagine walkthrough is going to be a little wonky. Yeah. So all of this to say that the Storm, needed to get out of this with as few bumps and bruises as possible. And they've had some key injuries, it seems like, and hopefully they are minor and they will recover and be ready to play the Renegades on Friday night, which is going to be a big deal. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, they've got to get back to establishing the line of scrimmage today. Offensive play was not up to par, all things considered. 3 sacks is inexcusable at this point. And, I don't know what they're doing on the line to make the run game so useless. This is an offense that is supposed to be very balanced. And in the last couple of weeks, it's just about as balanced as watching a sumo wrestler on one side of a teeter-totter. And shout out to all of the sumo fans in Japan who are watching the Grand Sumo tournament that started this weekend. I got to watch highlights after I'm done here.
Nice.
Because I freaking love it. But, it's completely out of balance. Orlando has become solidly one-dimensional at this point. It's obvious that they're trying to run the ball to break things up a little bit, but defenses are stopping it. Corbin's maybe getting 2 or 3 yards a carry. Dotson's, maybe squirted out a couple of times, but, it's just not working out. What does Bubby say here? I think biggest thing Orlando needs to clean up is the center to quarterback snap.
3 bad snaps in 2 games, Bubby. You're right to point it out. I'm not going to.
Yeah, no, that's a home run right there. I mean, they did it again with the quarterback exchange in shotgun of all things. Cole throws a ground ball to the right fielder. And, Plummer picks it up. I
didn't see the other end of the play, but what it looked like is he tried to leave before the snap. And as somebody who's played, had to try to snap and move at the same time like that, playing flag football where I have, like, that's a tough move. I'm taking nothing from Cole on that. I'm just saying what I feel like it looked like is he had to try to go somewhere, off to the side quickly. Like, I don't know if there was a shift left to make a pickup or something. I don't know enough about the play, but it looked like whatever he was trying to do, he left before, air quotes, left before the ball was snapped. But at this point, that can't happen.
It's inopportune.
Right.
It's always happened at the wrong points. I mean, that was a play that was designed to be a shovel pass. They had a lot of eye candy on it. Right. And Jack was ready to shove that underneath, and that was likely going to be a first down.
And that's why I point out the movement that Cole would have to make on a shovel like that. Like that, it's one of those where you expecting a quick play, which means you've got to get out there.
Yeah, he's trying to snap and go and make a quick block, clear a guy out, and open up that hole in the center of the line so the shovel pass can run through. I mean, the tight end is already in position at this point to grab the shovel, and he was, but Plummer decides to eat it and take the sack to avoid any sort of further damage, and they punted the football away. I like Browning. He's a good dude, but we saw him far too much today. For my taste, far too much punting today. I mean, obviously, there were some situations where it flipped the field and the defense got the ball back, but it happened far too often in a close game. A lot of work to be done. I mean, I'm glad they got the win. I'm glad they're 5-2. They can take a breath and kind of capitalize on the good things. But I guarantee you, Anthony Becht is going to have some things to say to his coaching staff about this. And boy, Bubby's got all the questions tonight. I love this.
It's an interesting thing he's got coming out here is the league expands to 2 more teams in 2028. Do you hope those divisions, if they're there, is who do you think would be in Orlando's division? Okay, Birmingham. For me, Orlando's division, I would hope, would be Birmingham, Louisville, DC, and I don't know who the other team would be.
I think it's going to depend on who team number 10 is.
Yeah, I agree. All the speculation is they're out west, so I'm kind of
San Antonio Brahmas fans want the San Antonio team to come back.
I don't know why they got rid of it in the first place. And I don't know why some of these fools are so desperate for a Michigan team. I don't think that's a great play, but what do I know? I'm just
largely because the Michigan fan base, like the St. Louis fan base, ate it up. And they played indoors. So it's not like, it was hampering things in Michigan. I mean, I know the Midwest just got some spring snow lately that's been out of sight.
Yeah.
So in May of all times, I haven't checked on my kid to see if they've gotten snow in Wisconsin. But, to be honest, I think staying in more temperate climates would probably be, Please don't put a team in Utah, but maybe New Mexico would be a good idea.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I couldn't even begin to speculate on what that could be, but I have an idea. I have a thought. If I could pitch something to Mike Rapoli and his staff, and I gotta sit up in the chair for this one.
See, Bubba, you've gotten some bonus content.
Yes, really. We're this, because I mean, we're pretty much wrapped in the game, but if we want to speculate, I'm in. I think that the UFL should consider getting the trademark back from a former USFL team. And I think that USFL team should be in Jacksonville.
Uh-oh.
I think the UFL should resurrect the Jacksonville Bulls from the 1980s. Here's why. Here's why. So we have the teams in Texas, right? And that's cool. But I recall back when the Jacksonville Sharks of the now Indoor Football League,
correct,
when they joined the Arena Football League, there was this triumvirate of teams. You had Jacksonville, you had Orlando, and you had Tampa. And then the arena stuff fell apart, and the Tampa Bay Storm folded up for good. And Orlando and Jacksonville moved to the National Arena League. And Jacksonville and Orlando did have a very deep love-hate relationship with one another. It was an excellent regional rivalry for football this time of year. I think that they should bring all that back, because now putting it in the Jack Stadium would be absolutely laughable. There's no possible way that you could do that.
However, the Jumbo Shrimp are right down the street.
The Jumbo Shrimp are right down the street. However, there are two possibilities that exist in North Florida that could be viable venues for the United Football League, given their current model. The Jacksonville soccer up here is really taken off, and it's not the Armada. It's another team. I believe it's Sporting Jacks. But there are either talks or there's a construction in progress of a new soccer stadium in Jacksonville. So there would already be a facility that would be designed right within what the UFL is targeting for the smaller venues that could accommodate a team in North Florida. Secondly, the University of North Florida does not have a football team. They have a great field complex that they've played with rugby, track and field, and stuff like that. And if I'm not mistaken, I've also heard about potential upgrades to UNF. That's also a possibility where you could maybe get a stadium that seated 25,000 people, however many they're going to. I'm sure I have to go back to the paper on it. But that's a possibility that you could host a professional football game at UNF. Now, think about that. UNF students getting access, either cheap or darn near free, to come watch a spring football game that's on their campus. Outstanding concept. Or you go to the soccer stadium, which is designed for professional sports, and use the same thing. You bring back the Jacksonville Bulls. Now, Orlando has a natural regional rival that they can play against. And think about the marketing that could take place, because now you've got UCF that's doing its thing and is rising things up in Orlando football-wise. You've got the Jags in Jacksonville. The Jags are going to spend some time in Orlando, so they're going to get used to seeing people from Orlando. Now you kind of start putting things together and going, you know what? Jacksonville's probably not. I know they want to stay away from NFL towns, but let me advocate for a second. Let BP cook. All right. Jacksonville. I know folks on the Duval Dive are going to hate me for saying this. Jacksonville is not an NFL town. Jacksonville is a college football town that just so happens to will have a fantastic state-of-the-art stadium that will really be built not for the Jags, but for the Florida-Georgia game. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party is the reason. God bless Jane Wayne and Dolores Weaver for doing what they did to bring the Jacksonville Jaguars to North Florida. It really has changed the landscape of things. But as a lifelong resident of the state of Florida, specifically in North Florida, the only reason you went to Jacksonville for a professional sporting event was the Jacksonville Expos, which are now the modern day Jumbo Shrimp. That was about as professional as it got. Jacksonville has always had minor league or lower division league teams. I mean, you look at the success of the Jumbo Shrimp, who won a league title, the Jacksonville Icemen, which were the natural rivals of the Orlando Solar Bears, right? Duh. Okay. The Icemen and the Solar Bears do not like each other. Okay. And Icemen and Solar Bears games, I've been to one in Jacksonville. It's an absolute delight. I mean,
let's hit one sometime. Yeah.
I am not a hockey fan at all, but I will get me down on an Iceman game when the Solar Bears are in town.
Let's do it.
They do not like each other. It's hilarious. The razzing.
Say what you will about the Everblades. I'm aware that that's the bigger rivalry.
Yeah, no, the Iceman Solar Bears are a bigger rivalry. So think about, and the Jumbo Shrimp. I mean, Jacksonville is made just like Orlando is. Orlando's got that capability for the smaller, the niche things that will grow over time. And I think if the UFL is going to consider growth, I advocate for Jacksonville because they have that. They're already accustomed to having football. They're already accustomed to having events like that. The local fan base, listen, you give people in Jacksonville a sporting event and cheap beer.
Boom.
Bingo. They're all going to show up. Then you pull back that old logo. Only somebody who's lived here long enough would know about the Jacksonville Bulls. And you slap that on there and voila, we're back. And now you literally have football in Central and North Florida, springtime all the way. Then you get the Jags, and then the Dolphins and the Bucks. I mean, it just adds to the football culture in Florida. And now on top of that, you have another pipeline. All of these kids that play at what is it? University, is it the University of West Florida that's going to Division II or something like that? Yeah, right that. So and you've got Stetson, you've got who else did you got that plays football at a lower tier?
FIU?
West Florida. Well, yeah, I mean, you got FIU and FAU who are G5 teams.
Yeah, the American. Well, FAU is the American. Excuse me.
Yeah, so you got the G5 teams down here. So then you get more of a pipeline, and high school football already in the state of Florida, although it's not to the level it is in Texas. High school football in Florida, is pretty diverse. And so I think it's a big deal if you think about fostering that in Florida. Not to say Oklahoma City's not worthy or a great place for that. I mean, yeah,
you're saying them and this before you start talking about New York or Albuquerque or what?
Yeah, no,
or any of
no. I mean, listen, all apologies to the Seattle fans out there.
Yeah,
it's not your time. I mean, I wouldn't want to.
Dragons were great though. Damn it, I give them all the credit in the world.
Yeah, I mean, all the credit to them. But I think anything in California anymore is a no-go. I think we've burned it out with California. No more Kings, no more this, no more nothing. I mean, come on. We had the LA Kiss at one point in the Arena Football League. What a joke. What a joke. So nothing that further west. Seattle maybe down the road, but it's like I said, all apologies to Sea Dragons fans. I hurt for you guys too. I mean, when the Guardians went away, it's like, dagger. I feel we felt that
games was Sea Dragons Guardians. It was so fun to watch.
We felt that pain, but I really think they should concentrate, further into the Midwest and the East right now and keep it somewhat geographically central. Especially if they're monitoring cost overruns and things like that. It's a little easier to travel in a zone like that.
Makes it ridiculous to go to
it's So I mean, Oklahoma City would be great, but hey, Jacksonville could be a great option, for something like that. I think it would be a good fit. And there was a former USFL team they could pull from, grab trademarks. You have to create a new logo. Well, you create a new logo to modernize it, but you don't have to really go very far to get that done. And Jacksonville would be ready for it. They've already got deep support for minor league baseball and minor league hockey. So why not?
Tax-free state. And as I've stated with my personal champion, Travis T. Holmes, on the Duval Dive, national media makes it a point to be like, we're cool. It's cool to skip out on watching the Jags. So I get that the physics is different. The disrespect that the Jags get, as much as we talk about and hate it, is a fact of the case. And the unique iron being hot the way that it is with the movement around the state for those two things and the new stadium surrounding, I think you have a lot going there. I'm not sure Rapoli will do it that way, but I like your case nonetheless. Orlando Storm podcast is concerned. Would y'all betray the Storm if they brought a team to Jacksonville? Listen, I stay here, and I can't speak for BP, but gas prices are a thing.
Well, I'll say this. Okay. I'll say this. I watched the Orlando Predators as far back as 2007 when I first bought my first set of season tickets. And I drove from Jacksonville to Orlando. Mind you, I was in an ACL brace when this happened.
Oh, God.
So by myself. Now, the brace was unlocked, so I wasn't on crutches, thank God. But, I blew my ACL, had surgery, was in the middle of rehab, was walking on, but with my brace. And I drove to Orlando to a Preds game and sat in the old arena. Even after that, when the Sharks came to town, I was like, that's cute, but no. I am already invested in the Orlando Predators as a fan and as a season ticket holder now. So yeah, that's nice. So the only time I would go to a Sharks game would be Orlando, and the Sharks ticket office would call me. And, because that's part of their marketing shtick. They find people who have bought single game tickets, and they try to get them to come back to another game or potentially buy season tickets. And I think I talked to the same ticket guy 3 different times over the course of a couple of years. And he said, hey, Brian, good to see you, that you come back to another Sharks game. I hope you had a great time and all that stuff. Just glaze over the fact that I went to the Orlando game, right? Just, kind of ignore that part. Just talking about the fact that I went to the Shark game. And he goes, yeah, man, I saw that you'd come to a Jacksonville game, and I saw that you were here and whatnot, and would just see if you're interested, maybe thinking about coming back to another game or buying season tickets. And I said, well, yes, I had a great time. You guys do a fantastic job up there. It's a great experience for fans, but I'm an Orlando Predators season ticket holder. I'm so sorry to hear that. Well, thanks for coming. Maybe we'll see you next time the Preds are in town. I'll be in Jacksonville. Peace in the Middle East, free Tibet. I'm out.
Preds.
Go Preds. And then what's funny is I get the same call once in a blue moon from the Tampa Bay Storm. And now they saw, the move. Okay, this guy's coming from Jacksonville. And the only reason I'd go to the Tampa games was for Orlando. But but on top of that, I also had a friend from high school that I went to these games with. He lived in Brandon, and he was a Predators fan. And he called me and said, hey, I saw on Facebook, this is when I had Facebook. Hey, I saw on Facebook that you'd been to a Preds game. Well, I'm an Orlando fan too. Do you want to meet up in Tampa? And I said, oh, seriously? So we'd go do the War on I-4. And then we'd end up at Coyote Ugly in Ybor City afterwards, win or lose. Oh boy. Yeah, those were some rough parties. But yeah, that's what we did. I was a Preds fan, but I was willing to travel to the games in the state of Florida because I love the team and I love the sport. So to answer your question about would I betray the Storm for a Jacksonville team, the answer is hell to the no.
I would full bullshit Bishop. Hell to the no.
I would stay with the Storm. Now, on the flip side of that, I would support the Jacksonville team.
Yeah.
Because, I want to see the league continue to grow. And maybe as a member of the media, I might consider doubling up and covering them just for the sake of adding to my overall, because, I do have a sports report. I run 5 days a week. So, I would definitely do that to stay involved. And, that might be something that when the, Jacksonville played Orlando, that'd be huge for everybody because it'd just be a great game.
Huge
right. Huge. But, no, definitely not. I mean, for not being from Orlando and living in Jacksonville and covering Orlando sports as I have, especially the spring sports like that, I'm invested in it, because for the longest time, that was the only team that was within air. I mean, story time with BP here. I didn't realize we were going long doing this, but to be very, very honest with you, my first investment in Orlando sports was the Magic, because in 1989 when the Magic started playing, the only team that you could get even super regional television on. Remember, this is back in the days before cable was like big, and had all these huge networks and stuff like that. The only way you could get any coverage of the Miami Heat was on like an NBC broadcast. There wasn't any like regional coverage of Miami, because back in the day in 89 and 90, that's 350 miles to the other end of the state. Nobody in Jacksonville is going to give a rat's behind about the Miami Heat.
Don't live in Florida. It takes 6 to 8 hours to get through the state north to south.
I have driven from Homestead to Jacksonville, and it took me 6.5 hours as the crow flies. And that was with me driving the way I do and stopping. So,
forget about going from one end down into the Keys. That's a whole other conversation.
And I had been as far as Isla Mirada before we went anywhere. I've been down to the very end of Florida before the Keys. Well, actually, no, into the Keys, but not Key West. But, it's, nobody watched Miami because Miami was a world away. And, up here with the football side of things, nobody watched the Dolphins unless they were on national television, and the Bucks. We didn't have the Jags back then.
Correct.
So, when basketball season came around, because, we were basketball fans, but we didn't have a team to cling to. So when the Magic came,
for the Hawks, honestly.
Anyway. Yeah. And again, Atlanta's too far away. I mean, we had TBS, but, Atlanta, and Superstation TBS. I'm really old. If you remember that jingle. But, the Hawks, you'd see the Hawks on TBS. That was, I weren't invested in the Atlanta Hawks. So, but there was this beautiful network that cropped up that covered everything state of Florida sports called Sunshine Network.
Of course.
Sunshine Network, yes. And all of my Gator fans will remember Breakfast with the Gators on Sunday mornings. That was, the replay of the game they played the night before. It was always on Sunshine. Sunshine Network eventually became Sun Sports, and then Sun Sports Florida. Then it got bought out by Bally, and now it doesn't exist. It's FanDuel now. But the Magic were on Sunshine Network. So I would watch Shaquille O'Neal and Penny and Horace Grant, Dennis Scott, 3D, so we knew all the names. We watched all the games that were on that, Penny was our favorite player. We loved Penny Hardaway. And then all of a sudden,
but whatever.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden on the same obscure network, I started watching this. Wait a minute. Is that a football game? Wait, hold on. Where did they say they were playing this game again? Did he just say the Orlando Arena? Timeout. Hold the phone.
Wait a minute.
Hold on. Let me get my pillow and let me get into the supine position here on the floor in the in the bedroom.
That's right.
And let me figure out what in the Sam Hill is this. And then what got me was, they called a penalty. And now this is back in the old days of the Arena Football League. Holding, offense, 7-yard penalty. Stop it. And it was the Orlando Predators.
I have to do math.
Yeah. So it was the Preds. So my connection to Orlando sports goes back to the early 90s when they had all of this stuff that you could watch on television, and none of it existed in Jacksonville. So it's fine. If Jacksonville gets a team, I'll support it. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great concept, but no, I mean, I'm embedded with the Storm, and that's exactly where I'm going to stay until, you'd have to back up a Brinks truck at this point to get me to stay in Jacksonville to cover Jacksonville sports once I've made the commitment.
Here's how I know your whole spiel is real. You concluded with the Ted DiBiase defense. Everybody's got a price. I get that.
We have been on for 53 minutes for a post-game report. This is hilarious.
I do. Well, and we kind of broke off into a secondary episode. Orlando Storm podcast loves the loyalty. He's south of Tampa, but is a diehard for Orlando.
He gets it.
The whole Orlando Storm affects him differently too, apparently. Bubby also mentioned he loves your take. Also from Utah, please bring a team here. Love snow game.
I don't know if that'll happen.
I've never played in the snow, but all I can tell you is as somebody who's played in a heavy rain, back when I was still donning that uniform back there behind me for the Orlando Rage, we were playing the local police team, the Orlando. Are you ready? The Orlando Guardians. Yes, there were some copyright concerns there. Anyways, I can only imagine it's like playing in a torrential downpour, but when I take my first step, I got to lift my foot really high to stay out of the snow. Anyways, Say all that to say this, the point that Bubby brings up earlier on about, of course, he mentions his Renegades fanhood. The shirt is an accident, Bubby. I forgot you'd be coming in. I'll be honest. It's because I'm wearing a best dad ever shirt since Mother's Day is done for now.
We're ready to move on.
I'm looking forward to the next game with you. Would have been a lot better if we didn't lose 4 straight games. Fair. You're still in the hunt, I believe, though. But still think that
I would not look past Dallas at all. No.
The 2 best quarterbacks in the league. Granted, Jack didn't have his best game, but Austin's legit, dude. I like what he does, and both of them appear to be healthy. So, let's see some fireworks, huh?
Yeah, all that to say. So, looking ahead to the week, possible special guest, I think, Kyle. We're looking to have another friend on. By the way, shout out to Chris Rowland for a couple of great kick returns. I believe that is the Storm Surge podcast effect. You come on the show, you have a great game.
That's correct.
So Jay Sean Corbin, you're next. Maybe
Jay Sean Corbin. You know what? Maybe we even get Bugsy on because that'll prove that he will heal in time in a short week to play. I'll take that.
We'll see. So maybe another possible guest on. We'll break down Dallas. I will likely have a BP breakdown on a short week this week. Probably a lighter version of it since we've kind of done a lot of that here.
And not for nothing, tomorrow night it looks like we're set to have Spring Boulevard's Matty Fresh on.
So yes, that is true.
For that.
Yes, so we'll have to talk about that too as well. So it's going to be a short week, but a busy week for us here in the Storm Surge podcast. Again, thanks to everybody that's been watching and commenting. Please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, show us some love, let the algorithm know that we're still here. We thank everybody for the views that we are getting, for those of you watching the shorts and just hanging out with us. Don't forget, we're on social media at Storm Surge ORL on all the socials, Instagram. We love you guys, and just keep sharing and keep rotating it. We also get love from players' moms. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms on the Storm Surge, from the Storm Surge podcast, to all the Storm players. All that are out there watching their babies.
Former and current Storm players.
Yeah, former and current Storm players. Yeah, those have been traded to other teams. We still love you. A mom's love. So all of that stuff. But yeah, absolutely. A gritty win, not the way we wanted it, but we got a dub. And it's Sunday night. I think I'm going to have a drink.
Yeah, calm your nerves down after that W, and we'll see you with Matty Fresh tomorrow night, 9:30. Is when are we going to go live for that? I'm not sure if we're going to go live.
I don't think we're not going to go live because of my schedule, because I won't be there until right after 9:30. So, gotcha. But look for a drop Tuesday either morning. Monday evening or Tuesday morning. Yeah. So, but we'll still have Maddie on the show regardless. Okay. It won't be live.
Okay. I had said that and wait a minute. But yeah, so either way, Matty Fresh of Spring Boulevard on the Believe Podcast Network, fellow Believe guy like myself with the Duval Dive, plugs everywhere, baby. I even got UCF in there. I mentioned UCF Night Zone, and of course, Locked On UCF if you're still looking there. So that'll do it for me. I'm at the SOTG on all the socials, the Student of the Game on Facebook, and I'm not covering the Magic right now because that's depressing. So BP, tell them where you could be found.
At bp.onair on the Instagrams. The website's bponair.com. # shut up. And again, we'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in and enjoying our banter tonight. Kyle's going to lose it. He's already watched me physically take a lap tonight.
That's how I know you liked it. You took the lap this time.
Fat boy got to run, man. I got to get back on the pickleball court quick. I got to lose some LBs, man. Too much good food.
So for the ever lightening BP, this is Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. And hey, listen, until next time, which will be sooner than later, class dismiss.
Fight back.